Mothers today might face this dilemma. Do I say yes to life and prioritize caring for my family, or do I pursue my passions and use my God-given gifts? Our next guest says you can do both. Jennifer Fulwiler is a Catholic mother of 6 young children. In addition to homeschooling her young kids, Fulwiler also hosts a daily 2-hour radio show. A convert from atheism, Jennifer Fulwiler writes about how she learned to say yes to both her family and her personal passions in her new book, One Beautiful Dream. We caught up with the Catholic author when she was in the middle of her East Coast book tour and sat down at Trinity House Cafe in Northern Virginia for this week's Pro-Life Focus. Here with Jennifer Fulwiler, author of the new book, One Beautiful Dream. So good to see you in person and be with you.
I am so happy to finally meet you in person. Yes. It's wonderful.
Yes. Okay, so you are in the middle of your book tour on the East Coast and you're traveling with your husband and your 6 kids, which something that struck me is it's very different than the lifestyle you grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you and your husband were both single children.
Only children.
Only children.
Yeah, and my dad is an only child. So for example, my paternal grandfather, I was his only grandchild. Wow. So I mean, I come from small family culture. I don't know anything about having a big family.
And yet here you are, a mother of 6 kids, and you're sharing that with the world. What fears, we're just gonna go straight to it.
Let's jump into it.
Right. What were some of your fears as you started to become a mother and started saying yes to life and having these children? What fears did you have coming from a smaller family?
How much time do you have, Catherine? I mean, I had so many. And one of the things you see in this culture is we have a tremendous fear of life because openness to love, openness to life is openness to suffering, is openness to loss. So I would say that was a big thing. I worried, well, if we have this big family, what if someone gets sick? What if my children experience suffering? So there was definitely that. And also I had this fear that I wouldn't be enough for these children. That if I had 6 kids, I wouldn't be able to give each of them what they need. And also just fears. I don't really have a good temperament for running a household. I am an absolute slob. And so I worried about that. I worried, how am I going to keep up with all of this? I mean, my fears were kind of endless, to be honest.
And it does seem for mothers, there's this false dichotomy out there, right? It's like you're either a stay-at-home mom or you're a working mom. Yeah, your life, in your book, you really challenge that narrative, don't you?
Yes, I think it's a dated narrative. I think that maybe if you look 40, 50, 60 years ago, there weren't as many options out there in the economy. So if you had a passion, your choice really was kind of work for a corporation 50 hours a week or do nothing and completely stay home. And I think maybe that conversation made sense back then. But that's one of the things I want to share. I mean, we need to update this conversation. Look at all the opportunities with the internet. I know so many moms who feel called to stay home with their kids, but also feel called to use their passion. So maybe they put up a little shop on a website and they just do a little bit of work here and there, using their gifts, maybe selling their paintings or something like that. And I think it's time that we just get rid of the old dated paradigm and get with the times and see how many new options there are out there.
How did you have to rethink, your dream, your vision, and what you thought it meant to have it all?
Oh, yeah. So, coming from a background of lifelong atheism before I became Catholic, I very much was part of the either-or paradigm. Either you have a full, 80-hour-a-week corporate career, or you completely stay home with kids and you do crafts all day, and that was it. And so, yeah, when I started really just thinking and praying and discerning about the right path for our family, I began to see that the path for us really didn't fit in this either-or paradigm. It was something in between. And that's really the conversation I want to start, is we need to rethink what having it all can look like.
And being a mother of 6, you share these anecdotes that I think a lot of our viewers will find very relatable. You're in the grocery store, maybe you're hearing side comments, you're getting side glares of that. How do you respond to that when maybe there's someone, whether you know them or not, who isn't supportive of you having a large family?
Yeah, one of the things I really try to remember, this is not easy for me, but a lot of times when I get the bad looks or whatever, I have learned that maybe that person isn't intending to convey what they thought. Just the other day, there was a woman who was glaring at me en masse. My kids were not being that great, to be honest. I had, my little ones were being fussy, and she was just glaring at me. And at the end of mass, I turned around, and she was clearly about to engage with me. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm ready to fight. I'll tell her a thing or two. Right. And she leaned in and she said, I've just been waiting for an opportunity to tell you, your family is so beautiful. But I was sure that she was sitting there judging me and super angry. So that's the first thing I do, Catherine, is try to remember that a lot of times when I perceive that someone is judging me, I'm way off. And in fact, they might be looking at my family in admiration or, out of respect. So I need to remember that. But when I do get, the negative comments, I just try to remember, hey, that's where I was 20 years ago. I would have been that person making that comment. So I'm not always good about this, but I try to just respond with humor and not take it too seriously and think, who knows, maybe that person will end up having 6 kids too. You never know.
We'll be airing part 2 of our interview with Jennifer Fulwiler in the coming weeks, so keep a lookout for that.